So far in our solving quadratics unit, we have talked about how to solve quadratics when given the graph. We've talked about solving quadratics when we're able to factor, and also by using square roots. Once we factor this today, we're going to talk about something totally new that you've never seen before, called computing the square. It's one of my favorite things. But before we do that, we're going to recall a little factoring here. So I have the expression x squared plus 6x plus 9. Remember, if we're factoring, our first step is to try to pull out a GCF if we can. It's common factor. And in this example, there's not anything to pull out because this is 1. And that means that it's only divisible by 1. So we can't pull anything else out. And since a is 1, I do not have to use AC split. I can jump right into the factoring part. So I know that x times x is x squared. And then I'm looking for something that multiplies to 9 that adds to 6. And I'm thinking that 3 times 3 is 9. 3 plus 3 is 6. So I can put something like this. Now, since these are the same expression, I can rewrite this a little bit differently. Just like if I were to have 5 times 5, I could rewrite that as 5 squared. It's the same idea here. I could rewrite this expression, since it's the same thing twice, as x plus 3 squared. In example 2, I have x squared minus 10x plus 25. My first step always is to pull out a GCF if I can. In this case, I cannot. A is 1, means I can jump right into factoring. I know that x times x is x squared. And if I have something that multiplies positive 25, that adds to negative 10, I'm thinking negative 5 and negative 5. Then I'll multiply to a positive 25, add to a negative 10. And then just like I did in example 1, I'm able to rewrite this as x minus 5 squared. And we're going to use this idea of expressions that can be squared today when we complete the square. So, perfect square trinomials are trinomials that factor into the same expression. Just like the two that we just did, this was our borrower, x plus 3 times x plus 3, which we said was x plus 3 squared. This one is x minus 5 squared. If I were to factor this one, it would be x plus 7 squared. And these are perfect square trinomials because they factor into an expression that is the same. It ends up being squared. So I would get a notebook out and start writing these steps down. What completing the square is rewriting an expression so that we can use a perfect square trinomial. And so if I had the expression ax squared plus bx plus something, a blank here, what I'm going to fill in here, I'm going to take my b term, I'm going to cut it in half, which means it's the same thing as dividing by 2, and then I'm going to square it, and that's going to go here. Go ahead and write this down, and then once we do an example, I think this will make a little bit more sense. So I'm trying to find the value of c, what to put here in order to make it a perfect square trinomial. Here's what I'm going to do. I need to figure out what my b term is. Remember, in a trinomial, your standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. So the term that has my linear value, that is b. So b is 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 6 and I'm going to cut it in half, divide by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then once I have that value, I'm going to square that. That's going to give me 9. This value is the value for c, because then if I have x squared plus 6x plus 9, I can factor that. We already factored this, this is part of our bar right there, as x plus 3 times x plus 3, which is what I wanted to be able to do, because I want to be able to write this like this. Our ultimate goal is to get our expression to look like this. So we had to pick that number because it's the only number that would make that work. So in example B, I'm going to figure out what B is. And you have to keep your sign. So the sign in front of that 8 is negative, so that means B is negative 8. Once I have negative 8, I'm going to cut that in half, divide by 2. And then I'm going to take that value, and I'm going to take the whole thing, so I'm going to take this whole negative 4, I'm going to square that. That's at positive 16. Right, so negative times negative is positive. So that's going to go in for C. So I can rewrite this as x squared minus 8x plus 16. And then I can factor this as x times x, and then positive 16. So negative 4 and negative 4, which means that I should have x minus 4 squared. In this lesson, your factors should end up being the same. If you can't get them to be the same, somewhere you went wrong. Because our goal is to write it so that we can write it as a squared, a perfect square trinomial. All right, go ahead and write these steps down. We don't want to use the constant they already gave us, so when we go to solve, we're going to move that to the other side right away. Then we're going to complete the square, which is the process we did in the last 2 examples. And we're going to add the number that you find for C to both sides. Then you're going to factor it, like we did, so that you can get it as a perfect square trinomial. And then you're going to solve by using what we did in the last lesson, square roots. You cannot forget this plus or minus sign. When you're writing this, put some stars, underlines, make sure you remember that. All right, so we're completing the square here. I do not want to deal with the constant they gave me, because that's going to mess up my equation. So to start, I'm going to subtract this to the other side, because I don't want to put it with my perfect square. So I'm going to have x squared plus 20x. I'm going to put a blank in here, because I know I'm going to have to pick a number there. Equals negative 19. And then since I put a blank on this side, in order to make it even, I'm going to put a blank on this side too. Now I'm going to figure out my b term. I'm going to divide that in half. Then I'm going to square that. So the number I'm going to put in this blank, both blanks, this one and this one, because I can't just do something to one part of the equation. I've got to do it to both parts of the equation. So I have x squared plus 20x plus 100 equals negative 19 plus 100. I am going to go ahead and simplify. I'm going to simplify the right side first. Negative 19 plus 100. That's 81. And on my left side, I'm going to factor my trinomial. So I know that x times x is x squared. And then I'm looking at something that multiplies to 100, that adds to 20. That's x plus 10 times x plus 10. Then I can rewrite this as x plus 10 squared equals 81. Now, this is what we did in the last lesson at this point. Now I have an expression that is being squared. So to get rid of that squared, the inverse operation of a squared is a square root. So now these are going to cancel, and I'm left with x plus 10 equals, and then remember the most important step here is I need two equations, plus or minus square root of 81, which we know that the square root of 81 is 9. Then to get x by itself, you need to get rid of this 10. So I'm going to subtract 10 to the other side. So I'm going to have x equals plus or minus 9 minus 10, which I'm going to come over here to finish that. I'm going to separate these so that I can get two full answer numbers. X equals positive 9 minus 10, and also negative 9 minus 10. So x equals negative 1 and negative 19. Let's try another. So I've got x squared plus 20x minus 73. My first step is I do not want to deal with the constant that they provided me, so I'm going to move that to the other side using inverse operation. So I'm going to add 73 to both sides. So I'm going to have x squared plus 20x. I'm going to put a blank here. And then since I put a blank on this side, I'm going to put a blank on this side also. Then I'm going to look at my b term. b is 20. Take that 20, cut it in half. It's 10. 10 squared is 100. So I'm going to put a 100 in each blank. And I'm going to simplify. So on my right side, 100 plus 73, that is 173. And then I'm going to factor my left side. So this is going to be x, and a plus 10, and a plus 10. Now, if you have been struggling with factoring, and so this is the part that's getting you, I'm going to tell you a trick for this. The number that you're going to plug into the factor is always the number that was cut in half. So it's b divided by 2. That's always going to go here. So if you're struggling with the factoring part, this number, the b divided by 2, that's going to go in to both of these. So this is going to become x plus 10 squared equals 173. Then to get x by itself, which is the ultimate goal, I need to get rid of this squared. The inverse operation of squared is a square root. So those are going to cancel. And left with x plus 10 equals plus or minus square root of 173. And 173 is not a perfect square. So this is going to be a decimal. So this is going to be x plus 10 equals plus or minus, I'm getting 13.153. Then to get x by itself, I am going to subtract this 10 to the other side. So I'm going to have x equals plus or minus 13.153 minus 10. And then if I break that up, I have x equals positive 13.153 minus 10, and x equals negative 13.153 minus 10. This is going to be 3.153, and so this is one answer. And negative 23.153 is my second answer. All right, I am just going to put up answers here. I want you to try these yourself. If you are not getting the answer that I am getting, grab me and we can figure out what's going on. All right, if you are not getting these answers, raise your hand so I can come help you.